Every miniature has a story, and this one perhaps more than most. Today I'll be painting this dwarf, a very small part of a very special community project born out of my trip to Monte Sansovino. Along the way I'll share a little bit about how I painted it, but also what makes Monte Sansovino special to me. The creativity, the community, and a healthy bit of humility. Let's get into it. When I'm painting the dwarf, I'll start by base coating the entire skin with a bit of burnt umber, phthalo blue, and touches of Caucasian skin from Chimera. This gives me a rich dark green color that works very well as a foundation for the skin tones. You see, skin tones are a result of all of these different transparent layers laid on top of each other. And all these different nuances and colors in the end come together. Sort of like how my friends and I came together to travel down to Monte Sansovino. You see what I did there? Monte Sansovino feels sort of like a New Year's ritual for my painting. It's held in November, and this year was my third time going to the show. The first time I went, I got gold in standard. The second time I got a bronze in historical for my Sing model. And this year I went all in to the big leagues. Fantasy Master Painting, a category stacked with some of the best painters in the world. The trip itself is kind of an adventure. We traveled from Copenhagen, flew down to Rome, and then for hours we braved Roman rush hour traffic before making it to Monte in the evening on Friday. I went through some last-minute repairs and some frantic supergluing on Saturday morning before putting my models into the show. And whoa, seeing everything put together in the display was so rewarding. Now, let's get back to the dwarf. Once I've got that green undercoat down, I start adding more red into the mix and brightening things a little bit using more of the Caucasian skin tone. The green helps to lower some of the saturation in the redder tones, but I'll focus on areas such as the knuckles, the nose, the elbows, and the cheeks with more of that stronger red tone. The interplay between these subtle differences in the layers helps to bring some life to the miniature, just like collaboration between sculptors and painters help to bring life to the miniature world. And in some ways, this is actually what this project is all about. Before we get to that, if you are enjoying this video, I hope you'll consider joining me over on Patreon. This is where I share tons of exclusive video lessons. We also have a community Discord with different events trying to improve art painting. This November was Limited Palette Month, and it's really something that brought a lot of great insights for many members of the community. It's my goal for the Patreon to be as varied and as interesting as possible. That means you'll find lessons on Warhammer painting, on busts, on oil paints, and painting theory, and so on and so forth. I hope you'll want to join me over on Patreon to support my work. Thank you so much to all of the patrons. Their names are on the screen now. Let's get back to the Italian countryside. At Monte Sansovino, I got to talk to Gabby about her One Epic Army project. And this dwarf is actually a small part of this army. This is going to be a huge diorama where each miniature is painted by a different painter. And I really think that this is such a cool idea. And it highlights what I love the most about going to these shows, which is meeting other creatives and seeing the creative community come together to support each other. To build the lights even further, I'll add some more of the Caucasian skin tone, as well as some warm yellow to add a little bit more of vibrancy to the skin. If it's done just right, you'll see areas of green, some tones of red, as well as some warmer yellows in the skin tone itself once we're finished. And since this guy spends a lot of time outside, unlike most miniature painters, we can imagine that he's got a nice tan. The final highlights are a mix of cold white and the existing Caucasian skin tone with warm yellow in it, just to add a little bit of coldness into the final highlights, and that gives for this sort of shiny appearance. And so you see that skin tones are all about striking the right balance. Sort of like that balance that I was so pleased to see in my display at Monte. Like I said, this year I felt really good about my display. It showcased my taste in color, my choice of lighting, and my painting style very well. And once Sunday rolls around, the award ceremony commences. And at this point, I'd love to tell you that all of my hard work was rewarded with a medal in the prestigious Fantasy Master Painting category, but it wouldn't be the truth. Rather, for the first time, I came home from Monte without any medals at all. For the beard and hair, I'm mixing black and red to create this nice, rich, dark red tone. And I'm covering all areas with this color. To build more of the lights, I'll use these very thin lines and add in more of the warm yellow and more of the white to go in the direction of more orange tones. I use a brushstroke that is these thin lines to mimic the strands of hair and to create some texture, and I'll cover a subsequently smaller and smaller area with each passing layer. Each layer gets smaller and more focused, just like how I approach my improvement as a painter. And while that Fantasy Master Painting medal did not happen this year for me, The journey isn't over yet, because really the creative exchange and the community that surrounds these events is why I go in the first place. It reminds me just how much is possible with miniatures, and it reminds me to keep pushing my technique, and it inspires me to be more brave with my artistic ideas. Sure, this year I didn't get a medal, but I think I walked away with something far more valuable. The inspiration to keep going, the ideas for new projects, and it further reinforced my love for the miniature hobby. With the skin, beard, and other key details like the mallet and belt buckle finished, it's time to call the model done. This project has been such a nice breath of fresh air after months of more high-pressure work, so I'll pack it up and send it over to Gabby, where in time it will join the rest of her army in a nice diorama. A little piece of Monte Sansovino spirit traveling across the world. Every miniature has a story, and this dwarf? Well, it's a story of collaboration, creativity, and community, the themes that are at the heart of the Monte Sansovino show. If you'd like more insights into this year's Monte Sansovino show, I can highly recommend checking out Roman's video. I'll leave a link to that down in the top comment, where you'll get to see some really cool pieces, as well as hear some interviews with the artists who tell their stories and thoughts about how they created the pieces. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. It's totally free for you to do, and it lets me know what type of videos I should be making in the future. Until next time, just keep painting. Oh, and check out that Patreon. That's it.